I warmly welcome you. My name is Mieczysław Bielak. We're today in Łódź. Today is the 7th of January of this new year, 2023. The topic is very up to date, of course. How to be in this world, but not of this world. It's high time, as a certain exam has been intensifying. And it's been 2 years now since this exam, related to some information about a presumed disease, appeared on the global scale, with certain restrictions and a certain blockade implemented. Only those felt okay, who had prepared themselves and already knew then how to be in the world that occurred and lasts until today, but not of that world. That world from March 2020, it was the time when the whole world stopped. And under the impact of this information, shops, restaurants, hotels stopped running. Workplaces were closed. The production and trade froze. And practically, when this world stopped, people fell into a state of uncertainty and fear. What would be next? What would happen with the economy? As the majority of people had loans and bills to pay, and they could not go to work. In the transitional period, there were some supporting programs, but people did not understand the whole situation that had appeared in the media and which by the media had been announced. And what is interesting, those who did not have television, some were in the Amazon, African or Asian jungle, some were on Siberia, it turns out that by this day they are not aware of any virus or a lockdown or something like that, and they live the same way they used to. However, the majority of us that has a connection with the system about which I'm going to talk about today. So they found out that through the media that there was something threatening, some kind of a tornado going through the world, reaping the deadly harvest. At least it looked like it on the TV. There were piles of people that supposedly died from this disease. And whoever died, whether they broke an arm or a leg, or just fell on a broken ear, let's say, and died, had this disease assigned as a cause of death, so that the statistics were higher and higher and more scary. Therefore, it has become necessary to start explaining to the listeners that it is a time of an exam. A cyclone is a cyclical phenomenon. Nevertheless, you can always be in the eye of the cyclone. You can simply be in a slightly different state, in a different frequency, and this storm, this tornado, may not concern you. And that's what this lecture is for, what all the lectures are for, and this recording, in fact, that will be published in a short time. To get to know a few basic principles related to the mechanics of the reality we experience. So, what I'm going to talk about today is no spirituality, no esotericism, no religious movement, but more of a physics, mechanics, and a bit of quantum physics. As quantum physics is the science that proves a relationship between the material reality and the observation of the observator. As just through measurement itself, through observation, and each of us is an observator, through these eyes and the rest of the senses, which are our detectors, we are the observators of the reality, and we were not even aware that we actually create this reality. It seemed that life just happened, that all was a coincidence, that if we were born poor, we had to, so to say, stay poor until the end of our life. And it doesn't have to be this way. Nonetheless, when we do not open our eyes, but are asleep here in this reality, we do not get to know the principles, we do not learn and do not check these principles in practice. This life will not change. And if it doesn't change, well, by the key, we are programmed from the moment of our birth. And in fact, even when being in the wombs of our mothers, We are programmed by the programs from our parents and our grandparents, and actually being inside, we can hear all of this and take over, inherit these programs. And these programs so far have been about the fact that life is random, that everything just happens and we do not have any influence on this, that life is tough and you have to fight for everything, that earning money is hard and people are wolves, that there are a lot of thieves everywhere around, and you have to be very careful, that you have to be scared of foreigners, Germans or Russians or Ukrainians, or be aware of Jews or Americans. Such programs have been sold to us, and possibly that in the first period of our life, each of us lived these programs and experienced the consequences of living them. So, the moment we feared someone and fought with someone or competed, and if we fought with someone, perhaps we even managed to win this fight. But was this winning tasty? Or whether winning the fight is like a bite torn out of the throat, already partly digested? Well, not particularly tasty, right? Later on, parents were taking us to some religious institutions, and in this latitude, there is a certain initiation of becoming a part of such a religious institution. When I was in Egypt, I found out that 99.999% of the society, well, regardless of whether it is for a Christian or a Muslim church, during such initiation is circumcised. Whether it's a little girl or a boy, a little child is traumatized. With us, it is a little bit different, not so much physically as energetically, but also certain blockades are put on, and they have been determining the quality of our life until today, or until the moment we started to perceive this reality differently and communicate with this reality in a different way. So most probably, each of us has already experienced some suffering associated with loss, maybe of a parent or a partner that left us, abandoned us. Perhaps we've had an experience connected with poverty or hunger, or we have experienced being ridiculed, abandoned, rejected, criticized, or judged. Well, most probably we have already experienced that, and we wouldn't want these states in us when we felt bad. We wouldn't want them to repeat. We experienced them, we did not want them to repeat. However, the more we didn't want them, the more they were coming back. And various people were appearing, playing various roles, and they were behaving in a way that was unpleasant to us. There were people from our families, from work, maybe neighbors or some episodic strangers, who were appearing for a short time, saying something or doing something, causing us to feel bad. The more we were criticizing this, fighting with this, demanding from these people to change, this wasn't changing, but kept coming back and coming back and coming back. But why was this coming back? How can you change the quality of your life? How can you improve the quality of your life and experience the paradise on earth instead of something that you have been experiencing until present? It is enough to learn these few principles and start using them. These few principles I'm going to talk about are the principles that your mind may not at the beginning. Well, on the other hand, you have come here, you have put in some effort, so you traveled, some of you traveled from the other end of Łódź, some from nearby towns, and others may have traveled from far. But if you put in some effort, it means that your mind might have tried to boycott this trip. Maybe it caused the car not to start, or the bus or a train to run away. Nevertheless, you have come here, you made an effort, and it means you are ready, and this seed will fall on a good ground. And there are only a few basic principles, the principles connected with mechanics, with physics, and we're going to talk all the time about the perception and communication, And in this lecture, as in any other, I'm going to repeat myself, and this is on purpose simply, so that certain key statements are better anchored. I'm going to ask you to check what you feel, what you have felt or will feel as a goosebump on your body. This is for you, and each of you will most probably have a different sentence, different phrase or a word, but what you feel is for you. And check it, so verify it in practice. I speak from my principles, which are my truth because I have used them and I know it works. However, until you have checked it, it will be just a pure theory, some knowledge, some information. And this is about living your own truth. So keep checking, and the moment you have checked and the benefit has appeared, even the smallest, well, even when we make this sheet in the last part of our meeting, because we will work with those who hurt us once, and when you feel better, then notice this benefit and concentrate on this benefit. That you are feeling better now, feeling lighter on your heart, on your stomach. More joy, more energy has appeared. It is important for your mind to look for this benefit, as the mind is this part of us, loving and wonderful as a servant, but having been programmed by the systems of education, by our parents, by persuasion, by the religious systems, by the whole television or the media, and nowadays young people are being programmed by smartphones, some games, some information. So the more we feed our mind, and this is the part of us that shouldn't be a lord but a servant, but if we feed it with information, and this is why it is not easy to work with a highly educated people, as they have only this one hemisphere strongly developed that is prevailing to the left, and the other side is not balanced. And the point is that to drag this mind that has misguided you until now to your side, so it becomes a servant, and it needs to see the benefits, that something serves you, that it favors you, that it is good for you. Well, it is illogical, right? As all what I'm going to talk about today may sound illogical. And this behavior, when we need to respond to those who are teachers to us, to so-called executioners, this behavior will also be illogical. That you have to honestly and affectionately greet them, kiss them on the forehead or cheeks or nose, and cuddle them, and they did such bad things to you. This is illogical, right? But I am going to, in a moment, as well talk to your mind and put it all in a way that it may open up to such experience and let you do this. As often our mind is a blocker, most preferably it would take you to the minefield and leave you there, so that when you're trying to get out of this minefield, you will get hurt a little bit. So we shall move on to the logical part of the mind. Well, I'm going to encourage you to check, and if you check and it works, always focus on these benefits and show them to the mind. And I'll be very grateful if you could, under this or any other recording, write about your experience that worked in one or another case, not disclosing too much details of your personal or business relationships, but simply that something worked and it works and you recommend it. It is very important for those thousands or tens of thousands of people that are listening to us but have not found the courage yet, as the courage is needed here, such a state in us that we can use something what is illogical, And now we will move on to the physics and mechanics.
A teraz przejdziemy do fizyki, do mechaniki.
This whole reality and the mechanics I'm going to talk about today can be described with 5 attributes. So this reality that we experience, can be described with 5 certain principles. So the attributes of reality are: it is unified. Unified, you can say that born from one. The reality, so everything born from one. The unified field theory says that from some one primeval beginning comes everything, and everything is a part of unity. However, this unified field theory, if you read about it on the Wikipedia, it does not easily explain and there is no information about that this everything having been born from one, that it is you. Each one of you, individually, you are the source of everything, that you are the first being, as a spiritual being on this highest level. It is you as the source, and you've split yourself for the purposes of certain experiences into yourself here and the infinite number of yourselves around. And there has been a kind of a veil or a curtain put on this unified perception, like a dream, so that you don't perceive everything here in this experience as a part of yourself, but perceive it in separation. And this experience here on earth is about waking up. As so far, the majority of us has been sleeping. I was also sleeping under the impact of these programs, and everybody who lives under the impact of these programs, as we are programmed by our parents, grandparents, schools, religious systems and media, and we have become a kind of robots. We have been shaped to a smaller or a greater extent to be cogs in the machine, so that we do not serve ourselves but a certain system, to power the system and give most away to the system, so that we have little left. So we may even suffer, but this suffering is needed, because under the weight of this suffering, there is just a motivation to wake up. As if it was an idol, none of us would want to wake up. And so, having been pressed against the wall, especially since March 2020, the majority of people has undergone such a wake-up exam. And it is worth to wake up, as regardless of what will happen next, you will always be in the eye of the cyclone. You will always be looked after, fed, and everything will always be fine for you. And you have an impact only on yourself. Firstly, it is important to say that only on yourself. But by having an impact on yourself and your life, you also have an impact not on yourself. But I will explain this later. Let me return to this unified field theory. As the source, we have split ourselves into an infinite number of parts, the infinite number of ourselves, and we started to interact with each other, within ourselves and within ourselves here in this manifestation of ours, either as a male or a female, younger or older. And here we have only a partial memory of this source. And the point is to restore this memory, to wake up. And in order to wake up, we first needed these experiences related to suffering, some constraints, some luck. And now it is time that this world around us served us as a paradise on earth, basically. Therefore, I trust that today we will manage to close this old perception and old way of communication effectively. And I will convince your minds, and you also, as what is for you, you will feel on your skin, on your hands, shoulders, somewhere on your back. And for the mind, this is the specific information. So we as the souls have split into ourself and the infinite number of ourselves, and we've started to interact, evoking in these interactions either feelings or emotions. And we noticed that when interacting at the beginning with a child, let's assume, or a parent, there are feelings, pleasant states, and we feel good and we are energized by these states. But the moment someone does something bad to us, we feel bad and suffer, and there are emotions involved, and as a result we lose energy. And we wouldn't want these emotional states to recur, but we want to be in feelings. However, our mind is doing everything so that we stay the old way. And so that I will try to convince your mind to start perceiving and communicating in a slightly different way. In fact, we are all a part of one big ocean, so to say. We are drops of one ocean. And each of us is the ocean and a drop at the same time. I am the other you, and you are the other me. And the moment we change perception from the separated, I am the other you, you are the other me, you and I are one. And when we notice in the eyes of this other being, but this other being is not only someone from our family, it is every being, it is every human. And not only people are a part of you. All the plants, all the animals, all the minerals are also a part of you. All these egregoric systems and these egregoric hierarchies, political and church hierarchies, military, police, all of this is us and a part of us. And the moment we see ourselves within everything, in the eyes of each being, and the moment we communicate with this being seeing ourselves within it, and how we treat ourselves, or at least we want to treat ourselves with respect. We want to treat ourselves in a good way, with gratitude, with love, so that we feel good. So the moment we start to perceive and communicate, so that we feel good within ourselves and ourselves within all other beings, then we will start doing to other parts of ourselves only what we would want to return to us, basically. This reality, because as the highest spiritual being, over there we are not a material being at a very attenuated frequency, while over here we are in the material reality. This seems a hard matter, but it turns out that after enlarging, let's assume this pen, it is composed of some pieces of pen, then particles, and after enlarging these particles under the microscope, there are some atoms, and it turns out that there is not much of this material left in this atom. That there is only this nucleus and electron that flies from time to time, and the whole rest is an emptiness, something like a vacuum. After even greater enlargement, it turns out that practically everything is a vacuum or an emptiness, and that this reality around us is a holographic reality, just our perception, and the perception happens through the senses that are under the mind. We perceive through sight, through hearing, touch, smell and taste. So the information goes through our mind to the brain, and the brain is a tool of the mind, and there are certain programs that decode this reality, because this really is one big illusion, a certain field of energy that is constantly circulating, is in constant movement. Yet certain programs decode this energy field into specific reality, and we can only see, in fact, a tiny piece of the whole field. we only see what we
co jest,
focus on,
na czym się skupiamy,
to what we devote our attention,
przeznaczamy naszą uwagę
and what is our prevailing belief.
Tylko to.
Only this, but we can have an access to everything. And in order to access everything, a different perception is required, not through the mind. The mind and the senses can only see a fragment piece. But we want to have an access to everything, to reach out and take from this everything whatever we want, whatever is tasty for us. And so far, we have been reaching through our mind. We were reaching for what we did not like, and we did not want it. And the more we powered it, it kept recurring. So again, we as the source have split into an infinite number of ourselves for the purpose of certain experiencing and interaction. Coming into some kind of a dream to forget that we are the source. We experience in the holographic, illusory reality. It is also called a delusion or Maya. The reality of particles, pixels. Nonetheless, we can see that this is also smooth. But if you remember once in the cinemas, there were film reels, and the films were on big reels. Those were photos, frames played at a certain speed, and that gave the impression that the picture was alive. When it was played at a certain speed, our mind would read it as a continuous movement, uninterrupted, as something alive, a living image. And it is the same in this cinema, which we call life. And these frames, they are also separated one from another. But perhaps the explanation is not necessary here, as it is not as important, but so they fly with such a speed that they are decoded in the brain as something continuous, as something real, alive, that this matter is hard. But in fact, after enlargement, it turns out that this is just one big emptiness. The reality is holographic, and this holographic reality serves us as a field for interaction between us within ourselves and us within all other emanations. In all the reflections, and all the reflections, let me remind you, are not only all the people, all the plants, animals or minerals, but all the objects as well. And this pen is me, and the car and whatever, and this stand and the phone, everything is me. And the way I'm going to communicate with this, so what I'm going to do to another part of me, will return to me. And why will it return? Because this reality around us, this illusion around us functions as a mirror. This is a mirror reality. It mirrors everything we do to others, to other parts of ourselves, really. While it comes back, it was coming back to us, and it will be. Whatever we do to others. And I came up with it when, let me just remind you of what I've been saying lately. An event from Torun, nearly 30 years ago, or I think 20-something years ago, where I damaged someone's car in the parking lot, and I fled the scene, leaving the car damaged, the right fender, the right bumper and the right lump. I thought that when it happened early in the morning and everyone was asleep and no one noticed me, that I would avoid whatever consequences. However, it turned out that a month later, when while driving in Bydgoszcz at the roundabout, in accordance with the regulations, the tram that was coming towards should have stopped early but did not stop. And such a big tram, which is like a train in relation to a tiny car, could have crushed this car, but in fact only gently scratched my right fender, right lump and right bumper. The time distance? Around a month. And it made me wonder then, damn, why this way? And one more detail. When I ran away from the scene, leaving the car damaged, and this man probably went down to the parking lot in the morning and said, well, damn, someone's crushed my car here, dented here and dented there, and fled the scene, so I would not be able to make a compensation from the liability policy. And please see what happens in Bydgoszcz. A month later, I leave the car, the tram driver comes out, we agree that I withdraw, he will pass, stop at the tram stop, and we will write down the documents for the compensation. Was I entitled to this compensation? No. I needed to experience the same grief, the same emotions that this man, whose car I had damaged, experienced then. So I withdrew, the tram driver passed through and drove away. So he fled the scene just as I had done a month earlier. Afterwards, there have been dozens or hundreds of such incidents, and especially recently. Today I remember that I must say something new, and I remembered that my friend, when any machine broke down and did not want to turn on or something, he would take it and throw it away with anger. Then he would buy a new one, and after some time, even the new one would break down very quickly, and he would throw it away again. He never repaired anything, just one big junkyard outside his house, because perhaps he was angry and contemptuous of a tool that didn't want to serve him. And so he had a whole yard of junk, scrap, and there were dozens or hundreds of such things. Well, simply what we do to others, to other parts of ourselves, we do to ourselves. And it was coming back to us, it is still coming back, and it will be coming back. This is the principle, because everything around us is a mirror. Let me remind you for the third time, the mirror is all the people, all the animals, all the plants, all the minerals, all the objects, everything that appears in our momentary illusion, in our individual hologram. And each of you is the most important being in this hologram. The moment something else becomes more important than you, and the mind says that your spouses are more important than you, that your parents are more important, that your politicians are more important, your religious systems, nation, white skin are more important to you than you. If something is more important than you, that is when you attach weight or importance to something outside. Therefore, you attach importance to illusion. Well, the children are important, husbands, wives, parents, and in fact, this illusion is to serve us as a paradise on earth, but on such a principle that this happens not at the expense of others. But if we, in this illusion, are to have a paradise on earth and experience gratitude, then knowing the principle of the mirror, this gratitude must first be sent to the mirror. First you have to send it, and then it will return, as everything returns. Everything everything around us, everything we do. First of all, there is no such thing as a coincidence. Everything that appears in our lives is not accidental. Everything happens either to examine us before jumping to a better lifeline, and if we do not pass the exam, that is, we will be asleep, and we will look at a person that examines us as a stranger, and we will evoke emotions in ourselves and in this person. We will fight or run away or get angry or criticize or slander, despise, humiliate. If we keep doing this way, then this whole situation, this exam, which is either to serve us, to jump to higher towards paradise on earth, will simply examine us whether something is to come back, to recure, to return. So the reality that surrounds us in this individual hologram of ours, today you are here now, then you will go home, and along the way there will be other people, different events, and you will be examined all the time. How will you react? In the old way or the new one? in the old way, that is through dual consciousness, that I am me, and all this outside is some completely separated, alienated reality, that, if you have such a belief, and I trust that not, threatens me. If we have such a belief, then it will threaten. If we travel, for example, by a tram or a bus, convinced that there are a lot of thieves in such places, we will attract this thief. As long as someone smiles and says that life is wonderful, life is beautiful, people are wonderful, that such person cannot be seen by this thief that vibrates at a certain lower frequency. And we're going to talk about frequency mechanics. Well, this thief doesn't see somebody who is in joy, who is on that higher frequency. He sees only someone who vibrates at the same frequency and attracts according to the principle that a similar attracts similar. That is why I am going to encourage you, and the purpose of our meeting today is to become whole. That is, from the higher frequency, only a whole attracts whole. Everything else that even today may in some way make us feel uncomfortable, our health or lack of a partner, relationships, or the quality of these relationships, finances, everything will improve itself. The most important thing is the internal state, a certain frequency within us, and all the rest as a quality of life will be added. It will be by the way, simply. It will be a derivative of the frequency. So I'm going to speak to you and to your mind so that your minds have courage to perceive differently. And you too, so that you can more easily in this life perceive differently and communicate more easily using these illogical principles. Although today I'm going to try, by repeating multiple times the key things, to convince you that it is worth to behave illogically. So hence, we as the souls have split into an infinite number of ourselves in order to role-play certain interactions from which either emotions or feelings derive. And emotions are such states in which we lose energy. Even if we win, we still lose energy. And feelings are such blissful, wonderful states in which everyone is a winner, a win-win situation. Everyone is happy and everyone grows. The reality around us is Maya, an illusion, a delusion, a holographic reality, illusory reality that can serve us as a paradise on earth or a hell on earth. So let us complete this stage of experiencing the so-called hell on earth and open up and move on to these better frequencies, to this paradise on earth. It always serves us. It serves us all simply. Whatever we wish, whatever we communicate with. The reality around us, this illusion, has the function of a mirror and reflects everything that we send to the mirror. And there is everybody in the mirror. And in fact, it's always you, right? In the background of all of this, it is always you. So I'm going to encourage you to treat everything, whatever comes up in this hologram of yours, whatever you already see in your hologram right now, and this chair and the floor and other people, to just send to these other parts of yourself whatever you would like to return, to be returned. So if we want respect to come back to us, if we want to be respected, first this respect has to be sent to the mirror simply, and gratitude to be sent. However, if we criticize, humiliate, despise, get angry, and we send it to the mirror, and what will come back? What we have sent, because everything we do is like a boomerang. It comes back sooner or later. I've noticed that now the boomerangs that we send come back much faster. Every interaction with the reality is already a boomerang sent from a given frequency. Behind the mirror is a multidimensional, multivariate reality. Here is the chart that shows our lifeline until now. A point here and now. I am here and now. There is a mirror in front of us, and behind the mirror there is an infinite number of alternative, parallel lifelines of different qualities. We will divide these qualities in such a simplified way into poor ones, and we will call them a potty. And we enter the potty if we communicate, if we perceive dually, of course. And if we focus on, when we focus on what evokes emotions, regret, anger, resentment, fear, guilt, contempt, and to whom? To yourself, always to yourself. If we ridicule politicians or some priests or other representatives or someone from your family, friends, we do it to ourselves, and it will come back. It always comes back. And now, in recent times, it comes back much faster. So we can make the paradise on earth faster or hurt ourselves faster. It is so important to be mindful of words, in thoughts and in deeds, mindfulness and awareness, in order not to hurt ourselves, first of all, but to make a paradise on earth. Because paradise is a derivative of a certain frequency, and you have to, in a way, invest in it, to invest in the mirror, in this field that is first you have to do something yourself, and it is about doing it to other parts of yourself, including those that for today, logically thinking, perhaps could not be loved or respected. Because how can we respect someone who is a thief, who is a drunkard, who is a scoundrel, who is maybe a drug addict, who can be a cannibal, let's assume? How to respect them? It's all an illusion. All these events are just an illusion that examines us, an examinating illusion, so that we don't attach weight to it and judge those cannibals. In this Africa are so bad, and those Russians or Ukrainians, one or the other side, are so bad. The moment we judge, criticize, let out some emotions, we sow seeds and we will reap the harvest. And all the crops are ours. There is no chance that anything happens by accident. There is no such a thing as a coincidence. Everything is ours. So we learn responsibility, that there are no coincidences. We learn a certain mindfulness, to pay attention, whether you are here now or even if you leave, and whatever happens, everything is yours, is ours. And from the way we communicate with another part of ourselves, maybe with a beggar, a drunkard, a policeman, maybe with a bus driver, anyone else, depending on how we communicate with them, this will be the return later. So the quality of our lives depends on the quality of our communication. So the frequency that we have within us determines then what is there behind the mirror. And from 200 downwards, it is the space of lack and suffering, the space of deficits, growing deficits, a potty space, or a growing paradise on earth. And from the frequency that we have within us, from the amount of joy, gratitude, respect, love, depends how our life will be like later. And this life is full and complete. And so we do not fight the disease, right? We only catch the frequency as high as possible, work, maintain this frequency, and health as a state of fullness returns by itself. We don't fight for money, we don't fight with our partner, we just enter into love, into acceptance, respect and gratitude, and in this we last and we emanate it, and everything else changes itself as a derivative of the frequency. So the reality behind the mirror is multivariate, multidimensional, of various frequencies, and we reach and create just from this function. And here is a wave function. It is, as it is called in physics. And here is the corpuscular function. The corpuscular part is the part that our senses already see, our reality detectors can measure. Our eyes, ears, tongue, skin. What we see is already materialized. And materialized is what we had previously paid attention to. and what we had sent to the field. Because our energy, our power of creation, our power to draw from the wave function to the corpuscular function is when it follows our attention. And it accelerates materialization if there are emotions or feelings involved. And through emotions, we have already created a lot, very quickly. Please notice how quickly and easily negative things are created. It is enough to direct your attention, enter into a lot of anger, a lot of regret, resentment, and it comes back very quickly. And in the frequencies in which the Earth is now, even quicker. However, we will now learn how to hold certain higher frequencies and release light intentions from those higher frequencies. Light intentions? Light, so not heavy. Not heavy, that is, without attached weight. So the intention is light when there is no weight. That is, no matter if something materializes or not, you are to feel happy now, regardless of whether this car or this house materializes or not. Well, then it will come with ease. But when we attach weight, that something must happen. This partner, this job, this position, this car, this business, this contract must happen. And the more we attach weight to it, the more we expect it to happen. And we create scenarios that this must happen tomorrow or today or in this or other way. Then we spoil it. We'll not get it. We will get something or we will get something of poor quality from the bottom shelf, not even worth reaching for. So in this field, in this illusion that is around us, where there are elementary particles, where everything circulates and circulates with ease, the moment we take the weight of everything, our intentions will materialize. Intentions related to health, respect, love, gratitude, partnership, finances, they will materialize themselves. And when we attach weight that it must happen, and we even expect it and demand it, if we send a demand to the mirror, it will not materialize, or it will materialize some lack simply. Do not expect only light intentions without attaching weight, without fighting, without resistance, simply, with ease. When we accept that something we want would never materialize, then it will come itself. And if we demand from the mirror that it must materialize quickly and on our terms, it will not happen. So this reality around us is one big energy field that serves us. There is always a jinn here who says, "My lord, what do you want? You will get everything." But it's on this principle that what you focus your attention on and what you send to the mirror is what you will get. So let's send and pull from the wave function, because here for you is as well a hell on earth and a paradise on earth, and it's just a matter of pulling from the wave function to this reality. Everything that you would like to come back. Reality is fractal. I'll talk about it briefly for now and we'll take a break. So fractal is a geometry where in the micro scale, medium and macro scale, the shape is always the same. That doesn't tell you anything useful at the moment yet. But the point is that there is a world of your own, a micro world, and there is this external reality that you see out there with your eyes, or you see through the television or the internet. You know when that something is happening somewhere in Warsaw or in Europe or other parts of the world. And the thing is that as above, as below, that in order to change the macro world, to make this external world happy, to make it different, better, it is impossible to make it happy directly. We have no direct impact on it, but we have an indirect. We have a 100% impact on changing our own life, our own world, our individual hologram, as they call it. We have 100% impact on this, only by perceiving and communicating differently. When we stop perceiving others as strangers and we see ourselves in their eyes and we start communicating, that is sending them what we want to or come back to us, we forget the old. In the old world we demanded the respect, but we didn't show it. By what right was this respect to appear? It could have been only torn out of the throat or violated. Demanding a respect without first showing the respect. First you need to sow, and then you harvest the crops. In the old way, we demanded the crops, but without sowing. So it couldn't come, or something very distasteful would come. So we're relogging in perception and communication from the old dual reality, where we saw everything in separation. You have the possibility to relog or not, because you have a free choice. You can end the old world, and from this moment, from today, start to see yourself in all that is. So, from the dual consciousness to the unified consciousness, and from the communication through emotions, through fighting, escaping, grief, anger, criticism, shame, guilt. This is what we end. We don't send it to the mirror and to ourselves anymore, because we know it will come back, right? It is illogical for our mind. Well, this is actually logical to your mind now when I'm saying this. So we send what we want to come back to us, and it will be a challenge to send this gratitude, this respect, and this love and acceptance to those who are unlovable. On the logic of the mind, when we see ourselves in separation, me and the drunkard, me and the drug dealer, addict, me and the cannibal, when we are not one, it is easy to criticize them. But when we see ourselves within them, it is easier for us to send feelings to them, because in fact, this cannibal, this drunkard, this drug addict, this thief, this is one big illusion that examines us. That is why it is so important not to attach weight to what your eyes see and not to fight anything, just to be in this world, but not of this world, regardless of what happens outside. We do not fight with what happens outside, because we will not be able to change it, because there is no way to change the external world except through yourself, only through yourself, by doing, by acting. And this is this fractality in this micro world. If we make this paradise on earth, we will then project this paradise secondarily into the collective consciousness. When we are happy, when we smile, flourish, we infect others. And as a result, this world may change globally, but it doesn't have to. We have an indirect influence on this world, but we do not expect it to change, because expecting, as you remember, is attaching weight to the effect. And at this point we lose our state. Our internal state is the most important. We take off expectations, we take off claims, we take off fighting, this competition and many other behaviors that did not serve us. Well, in the first part I said that reality is unified and we are the source, at the source of all appearance, and we learn to perceive ourselves in all that is. We have split into an infinite number of ourselves and enter into certain emotional interactions. It should have been one big dance of energy between all of us. And often it was like that, with a neighbor, with a wife, with a husband, with a father-in-law, mother-in-law, with an employer. This is how it was, and then you know the fruits, how you felt as a result of such communication. So this illusion is meant to serve us as a paradise on earth, and it served us as it served. Reality, this illusion, is a mirror. It has a mirror function that reflects whatever we previously sent to it ourselves. So there is a cause and effect relationship here. Firstly, we show what we want to be returned. Behind the mirror there is an infinite number of alternative qualities of your life, with an improving quality, with every frequency, with every love, respect and gratitude, we jump invisibly to another film. So far, this film has been about the potty. Maybe some tragedy, betrayal, loss, abandonment, humiliation. But we are entering an ideal, a better life. So, behind the mirror, there is an infinite number of qualities of your life to be reached for. But only you can do it, not someone else, not any amulet, not a cross, not an Atlantean ring, not a pendulum or a wand, not some technology or a conservative mirror. Only you, through your inner frequency, you can reach for any quality. But I understand that we don't want to experience the weak one anymore, but only this positive one. And finally, we don't change the external world. We put our individual hologram in order, we rebuild ourselves energetically and make a paradise on earth. That is, we are in the eye of the cyclone. And the cyclone, if it wants, can dissolve and everything can change, but we do not force anyone to enter the path of happiness. It has to be everyone's own conscious and responsible choice. And that's it for this part, for this first part. I am grateful for the meeting and see you soon.